I could summarise, you're really the guy who spent 4 million quid of his boss's money on LED lights. Sorry?
It's still ongoing.
Still ongoing. You're going to spend more of his money.
Oh, yes.
Yeah. So tell us a little bit about this. So it all began with a trial at Leicester, is that correct?
Yeah, it began many years before that, clearly, for the reasons set out in the previous deliverers. You can't just go into LED very quickly. You need a lot of time to talk to people, talk to experts in the business, and also use your own experiences. We approached it very cautiously, and I think the first time I really took LED seriously was in 2008, when somebody showed me something which I thought, this is a viable replacement for other light sources.
You had a lot of halogen. I mean, you've a lot of halogen in your estate, didn't you?
Well, at that time, we probably had 200 stores that were almost entirely halogen, and we still have got approaching that number. But of course, Next have 550 stores, and since 2006, they've almost entirely been CMH. We decided to do a little trial, and we put a small number into a store, and it not only looked impressive. I mean, people weren't aware that it was LED, which was a good thing. I didn't want them to really spot the difference, which often you can do. In fact, it was so good. Within about 2 or 3 months, we'd started using that particular light fitting in all our stores, but not for product lighting, more for decorative purposes, kind of scallop lighting around the perimeters. It actually replaced a very poor performing not ceramic metal halide, a metal halide GU10 lamp, which was really giving us some issues. So it was a good move from a maintenance point of view. It was also, as it's turned out, it was very good news from a lighting and energy saving point of view, because we have now used, I would say, getting on for 50,000 of those fittings, and it's very good. Yeah. Virtually nil failures, which is almost unbelievable.
So how did that move to how did that become the rollout that's happening now? You did more trials?
Well, that was the learning process. We liked that fitting, we liked the light source. It gave me confidence that, you know, you could get good colour rendering, you could get a good appearance, and I just kind of shied clear of using it for proper product lighting at that time. And in fairness, until the rollout that we're now doing, we hadn't really lit product properly with LED. We've done that in nearly 100 stores. It's almost coming to a conclusion now. Finishes in May. And really, I suppose that the thing is, no news is good news. Yeah. Nobody talks about it. Yeah. Except the financial department, who talk about how much energy we're saving, which is, you know, pretty significant. We first did a trial store in January 12 in Thurmaston, an outskirt of Leicester. But in that store we tried lots of different fittings, so we could kind of hone it down a little bit and try them for, you know, even just a short period of time, see what it looks like. Obviously not a long-term test, but we continued talking to everybody. We conducted a tender process, we then followed that pretty quickly with another 6 stores in April last year. And then, I think round about August time, we then rolled out 47 stores, completed those in November, and we're now in the process of completing another 51 stores, which finish in May. And that will really just about do it. That will be the end of that programme.
So how many luminaires are we talking about in total?
I was hoping you wouldn't ask that question.
It's a lot, I think it's the answer.
I would say on this it could be 80,000.
Yeah.
I mean, the thing is, the interesting thing is they're not all LED. We're replacing a lot of fluorescent battens, which are old switch start twin 70-watt battens, which do a kind of cove lighting job in all of our stores, which you'll have seen in the old Next stores. They're incredibly inefficient, or you know, they don't give much light out because they're concealed. So we just replaced those with a 35-watt T5. Very cheap, electronic ballast, will last a long time, sort of 5 years lamp life minimum. And that in itself is a big saving. So that has kind of held the if you like, it's helped us afford a better quality fitting, if that makes sense, on the LED part of the exercise.
What was the key to getting it approved and all that? Was it the trials, the evidence from the trials?
Well, I just delivered it as one of our cost-saving initiatives.
Can you just tell us a little bit about this store here? This is Milton Keynes Central, I believe.
Well, it's called Central, but it's actually a little retail part to the south of Milton Keynes, that one.
Yeah.
So, I mean, what we actually did was, and in the other 100 really, that you can see the concealed bulkhead around the perimeter I was referring to. We took out of that the twin 70-watt batten, which was also colour 4000, and we changed it to colour 3500, which is kind of a mid-temperature. But
that's fluorescent tubes, is it?
Yeah, fluorescent tubes, but a lower light level, actually. I mean, it looks pretty bright on there, because photography is quite difficult to demonstrate lighting, but we actually reduced the light level up there intentionally, because it was actually so glary, it was kind of detracting from the product, almost silhouetting it, if you like. So we deliberately reduced that, saved a lot of energy on the perimeter, and then the small fittings you can see, the adjustable ones, they were 50 watt, well, reduced to 35 watt diacrylic in 2008. We just simply replaced all of those fittings with a near identical product, but an LED version.
A downlight.
A downlight.
With integral LEDs.
Yeah. A very simple retrofit, therefore. You know, taking the point of Dave Tilley earlier on, we just simply took one out and put another one back in.
Sure.
Dispensed with the old transformers and so forth. The black trough in there, that is a kind of design feature that we introduced into our new design concept in about 2007. And we wanted just to give the shops a little bit of that. So we dropped in the troughs, and we also replaced, if you look slightly to the left, the twin gimbal fitting there. Was actually a twin 35 watt CMH fitting, but I just wanted to get rid of them because they were unreliable at this stage. You know, they were kind of up to 10 years, maybe 12 years old. So we
and they're a maintenance nightmare, of course, aren't they?
Yeah, and a maintenance problem, and it had quite a wide beam angle, so it was ineffective in what it was trying to do. So we changed them all to a slightly narrower beam, still a medium beam, 24 degrees or something.
Now, what's the feedback been like from the managers and the customers? And
well, to be truthful, they don't say too much.
Yeah.
Because it's only when I go in and say, you know, what do you think of the lighting?
Yeah.
And you sort of have to cajole them into, oh yeah, it's great. Yeah, but the thing is, that is the beauty of it. They don't really notice that much difference, and the lighting is very good.
And the reds, do they look?
No, the reds are absolutely fine.
Yeah.
Because the colour rendering, I think we've got an RA index of about minimum 80 was the spec. Some of them are a touch higher than that. And we could spend more money and get even higher, but you get a little bit less light, and I just felt that the balance in the old stores was probably on getting the light output. So we stuck to an RA minimum of 80. And
you introduced controls into the changing rooms as well?
No, that was an earlier initiative, but only for new stores, because that controlling the fitting rooms and rewiring, it was a very expensive job to do, and it didn't really stack up financially. So in new stores we use a corridor mode tridonic ballast that runs some T5 fluorescents and a fluorescent in the ceiling, actually, a compact fluorescent, and they run at 10% until you walk into the cubicle, and then the lighting level comes up, and it feels quite nice. And it kind of sells the green message a little bit, and you know, it clearly saves us a lot of money, because at 9 o'clock in the morning there aren't too many people in the cubicles. So that was a good move.
So following your experience, are you sort of surprised that you were sort of one of the early adopters? That you know, that other you almost walk down the high street and see a lot of halogen around. You think, you know, why aren't these guys, you know, getting into LED? Do you think that?
You know, I'm not giving it a lot of thought, to be truthful. Usually it's the other way around. I'm looking at a really poor LED installation somewhere, thinking, why on earth have they done that? That is appalling. I think I might know the one that Dave was referring to earlier, which a national chain, which name can't be mentioned, but you know, you just think people have just wrecked it from the customer viewpoint, and we certainly haven't done that.
No, it's been that balance.
The shop lighting in those shops is absolutely fine. And it's an improvement, actually.
Yeah.
There's a bit, because we've got a narrower beam on the spotlighting, we've got a little bit more life in there. It's just not quite so flat, which is obviously a usual criticism of LED.
Yeah. So come to the savings. I mean, what sort of price premium was there?
Our payback calculation is 3 years, and we still believe most of our paybacks are achieving that 3 year. I think, if I'm honest, we were probably working it out around 2.7 when we presented it at CapEx.
2.7 years, yeah.
2.7 years, but I think one of the things that was mentioned earlier was the saving you get on air conditioning, and I asked a lot of people in the industry for a view on what they believed it would be, because I really didn't know.
Yeah.
And figures such as 30% were mentioned, which we thought was a little bit optimistic. So we bunged in 25%, thinking that would do the job. In fact, I reckon it's nearer 10 or 12%.
Are all your stores air conditioned?
Yeah.
And is your air conditioning run the full months of the year?
Yes.
Okay. So, and you reckon it's about 15%?
I think it's very difficult to calculate it, because we haven't really logged it individually on circuits. So we're trying to assess where the savings are coming from when you look at the overall power consumption of the store.
But I presume maintenance was a massive. But
yes.
Even though you had your staff doing.
Well, we used to do. We actually changed that in the last couple of years. So we had a maintenance company changing lamps for us, and that was giving us a little bit better result. But in fact, maintenance, when you've got shops, that store is probably 10 or 12 years old. So everything's getting tired, isn't it? Transformers start to... In fact, the transformers are probably one of the better parts, but the fittings, you know, the lamp holders need replacing because they get hot and they burn it out or whatever. It's quite a fiddly little job to change it. So things like that. And certainly... maintenance is quite a high consideration, I would say.
What is your gross sort of saving without maintenance or air conditioning, just store to store, with your LED saving? I think we wrote in the feature we ran about 40%. Is that correct? Or?
I think the saving in electricity in a store following this exercise is coming out between 25 and 30% on our half-hourly meter readings that we've checked. But of course that's across the whole electrical installation. When you just look at the lighting installation, obviously it's a significantly higher percentage than that. Yeah,
and then you would add on your maintenance savings and your factor for air conditioning as well. So
a factor for air conditioning, maintenance, the CRCs we're talking about. Possibly something else I've forgotten.
Good.
It all works pretty well, but you know that really is a kind of, almost in my mind, it's a test bed. I know it works, it'll do the job. We've now got a variety of different light LED types, probably 3 or 4 different types in those stores. So it means over the next year or two I can keep a close eye on those and, you know, just get real life testing information back to make sure that, you know, we're not kidding ourselves, which I think a lot of people do. I think it's a very scary proposition doing this, and that's why you've got to use the best product you can afford.